sad note with tributes to one of our regular analysts on Journalists Hangout, a gentleman at that, Mr. WAHEED BAKARE, who until his death at the weekend was the editor of Saturday Telegraph. Let's share some of the moments on Journalists Hangout with you. I want to look at the alacrity in which that bill was actually passed. It went through first reading in a day, second reading in a day, it went to general the third reading a day, and it got to the governor today, and the governor is not a law.
That shows you that if they are determined to do something, to pass any law, they will do it.
Don't forget that the House, I think, is predominantly a PDP House.
Everyone is PDP.
Everybody
yes,
in the
yes,
House.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
They will do it. But they don't have to wait until when something affects them before they act. Governance is about the people. And I think they have taken a right decision by saying that no to this. Look at it. We have somebody who spent 4 years, a term as a governor, is going to be entitled to this. Whereas we have civil servants who spent 35 years, who spent 35 years serving the state meritoriously, and they have no need to show for it. We see from time to time how pensioners will be in queue. You see some of them falling down.
Die on the queue.
They will die. They will die while in the queue. You know, they die of ailment that ordinarily shouldn't have killed them because they don't have money. They don't have money. They don't have money to take care of themselves. And you have somebody who might have perhaps stolen some money when he was in government, still enjoying some of these benefits. No, it can't work. It can't work. And I think they have taken the right decision. But they should also use this opportunity to make sure that any bill that have to do with people, they give it the right action, the way they have handled this one. As we all know, the average Nigerian politician is an incurable optimist. They always believe that they will find a way around no matter how difficult the issue is. Now, what they want to hold on to is the fact that they say, okay, the constitution of the APC says that candidate can emerge in either of 3 ways: primary, indirect primary, or consensus. And they are now saying that, okay, the court did not put in the constitution the fact that there are some of their candidates that emerge
Through consensus,
unopposed, and that the judgment shouldn't have affect them. So it's not for the court. Let's see how it will go. I think for me, like I already said on this program, it will go a long way to strengthen our democracy. Let them go and try it in court, and let's see what the outcome will be. And like I've said times on this program, that we should continue to put to test our law. It will strengthen the democracy at the end of the day. Once there is president now, we know that, okay, if we find ourselves in a particular situation, we know that we can go this way because there is a president by the court. People are talking about 2023 in 2020. You know, we all know that by the time we get to 2023, the governance will be locked down. In an election year, there is nothing like governance. So it's about politicking.
1 year.
1 year to the election. But we now have a situation whereby about 3 years to the election, people have now started fighting about 2023. How many of them can beat their chest that they will live up to that time?
Or they will be around. Honestly.
How many of them can beat their chest? They don't know what happens tomorrow. Let's talk about the present situation now.
Quite sad. Babajide.
Yes,
Quite sad. Peace-loving man.
Yes.
Humble to a fault, unassuming, and always very, very available. And his humility is something that I want to learn from every day.
Yes, and he's always available for us. He's been a very good servant of this program. Sometimes when the person that you originally invited is not available, we'll send for him at a very short notice. There was a particular day that I called Majid. I said, Majid, can you convince WAHEED to make himself available at this very last minute? The notice was extremely short. Majid said, no, don't worry. I will talk to him, he will be available. And he was available. On that day, I was not around. And I saw clearly that the producer was in trouble, finding someone. That's the sort of person that he is. And when you, he he's not a man of many words, and like many good print journalists, he writes better than he speaks, but you still feel his brilliance no matter what. He makes his point clear. You see clearly that he has made a valid point, you know. Look at what he said there, that those of them who are already thinking of 2023 in the year 2020, that do they know whether they will live that long, whether they will be alive by 2023? That was a very prophetic thing that he said, which affirms the unpredictability of death. Death can come anytime. You can see someone just a while ago, you hear that he's dead in a matter of just 5 minutes. So this is the way it is, and we can only pray for the family that he has left behind. And I believe that our profession is full of people who truly care for their own. I believe that our colleagues will be able to put together a package for the family of this extremely nice individual.
I pray that the Almighty God will grant the family of the WAHEED, Bakare's family, the fortitude to bear the irreparable loss. And on behalf of Journalists Hangout crew here, we are saying at least God will just console the family of the Bakare's, and by extension, the Daily Telegraph newspaper, where WAHEED was the Sunday editor, led by the Saturday editor, led by Mr. Ayo Aminu, Mr. Ayo Ojo, the daily editor. I just spoke with Ayo Ojo before we started this program, and the Almighty God, we grant you fortitude to bear the irreparable loss. Now, moving forward now, the rise in the number of confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Nigeria, despite several containment measures, calls for worry. So, the country's leader is worried, with 313 fresh infections and 7,839 total confirmed cases. President Buhari described the situation as frightening and appealed to Nigerians to adhere to safety guidelines issued by the Ministry of Health. But it appears that appeal by the president went unheeded, as many SHUN COVID-19 protocols and stormed prayer grounds to observe the Eid al-Fitr in large numbers in Abuja. Some Muslim faithful observe safety precautions during the Eid prayers, but in some states, many threw caution to the wind. Yomi, we said this under pressure. Some northern governors buckled, and they actually opened places of worship around the north for people to come and do this prayer. The far-reaching implication is what we're looking at now.
The implications are, it's not even something that the mind can comprehend yet until maybe a few weeks from now. But in states like Kano, Bauchi, Nasarawa, Jigawa, Borno, ZAMFARA. Don't forget,
they came out last week. They met last week, and they asked the federal government to actually help.
Yes.
That the number of cases they have in the north is
exactly. So the northern governors already raised alarm last week that, look, this situation is getting out of hand. But you now have a situation where up to 7 or 8 states allowed people to go out for general prayers, and a lot of them did not observe any kind of social distancing at the mosques and at the prayer grounds. So when you look at what happened in Abuja yesterday, where it looked like a few of the prayer grounds, it looked like many of them observed some social distancing, and they took the necessary precautions. But most of the other states, they didn't do what they were supposed to do. I don't know whether there was supposed to have been any kind of enforcement, but lots of people came out, they threw caution to the winds, and they just did what they liked. And now, it is expected that over the next few weeks, based on even what the projections of the NCDC and also the alarm that the president himself has raised, there are going to be more cases, and there will obviously be more deaths at the end of the day.
The numbers is just the case we have during the weekend now. Today is a public holiday, tomorrow is another public holiday, but on Sunday we actually had the Eid prayer, and I didn't see what happened in Lagos. Jide, I don't know the picture you've seen so far, but I know some states would have adhered to the COVID-19 protocols, and some states just threw caution in the wind.
Kaduna is an example of a state where this didn't happen. The governor, as you know, does what he thinks is right. He does not buckle under pressure like some of our northern governors. Governor Rufai refused to open the gates of the mosque. So he continued to enforce the lockdown in the state. There was nothing like Eid prayers being held the way they were held in some of the states where the governors decided to open the mosque. And by extension too, also allowed the churches to hold services. So it's disturbing, because when you look at a country like Saudi Arabia, we compare them to us repeatedly. That Nigerians can't say that they are more religious than the rest of the world. It's
a typical visual
of what
we had last week. You can see the keeping the social distance.
What was done in Saudi Arabia is to film, to beam this live.
Yes.
For other people to see
and emulate,
so that they can stay in their homes.
Yes. This
you understand? Which is similar to what Babajide does with his church. In Sunday. His church, yes, there will be a few people listening to him while
watch online
he preaches, and the rest of them will stay
transmitted live.
Yes, will stay in there. This is what they did. This is what they did. So basically,
as against the crowd that we
normally would have surrounded that
yes.
So if what they wanted was for people to sit in their homes, but they showed them live the service, so that they too can pray. They can pray along. So this is the thing. But in our own case, we felt that religion was more important than the well-being of the people.
This is the headquarters of Islam.
They went against the Sultan's advice. They went against the president's advice. The president said, "Look, I don't even want to receive visitors." And he had the prayers inside the villa and the premises of the villa, just to send a message that, look, this is not the time for this. And then, of course, we had someone like Sheikh Gumi, who also preached against frittering the gains that we had made over the past few months by flinging the doors open for Eid prayers and all that. Because, look, there's nothing wrong in letting our people pray. But the fact that we are not sure that the people will conduct themselves in a disciplined manner, that is the issue. And where you are not sure that they will conduct themselves in a disciplined manner, adhering to social distancing,
I think this is the president and his family.
Yes. Then all that you need to do is to simply not let it happen. And once again, I commend the governor of Kaduna State, because he refused to succumb to pressure. In fact, he enforced it even on. He enforced the lockdown even on Salah Day. He made sure that none of the mosque gates were flung open. Was flung open.
It was the governor that has gone through. Has been through COVID-19.
Yes, so he's been through it, so he understands the challenge. But he also knows that Saudi Arabia has set that example. 5 days before the day itself, before Ramadan ended, Saudi Arabia had declared a 24-hour curfew around the country, so you couldn't move around. So this was an example for the rest of the world, or for the rest of the Muslim world, and the rest of places where you had lots of a large population of Muslims, to know what to do. By extension, that look, you need to ensure that people are not moving around and people are not relating in a manner that is causing the disease to spread even more. So this is very key, and what Kaduna State did, I think, is a great example. I mean, it's the state where I grew up in. So I'm happy that they are properly conducting themselves according to the safety guidelines that have been given.
Well, Julie, in Lagos must be considering, opening its economy gradually from next week after this 2 weeks, and they've lost so much. But from your observation, that you've seen over the weekend and till now? When you ride through the streets of Lagos, what have you seen? Have they stuck to the COVID-19 protocols?
Oh, gradually, a lot of our people are being overtaken by unnecessary cynicism. And this cynicism is not helped by some educated illiterates who are telling the rest of us that COVID-19 is a scam, COVID-19 does not exist, it's not killing people, it is malaria that is killing people. You know what I mean? You just ask yourself, what's going on? What's going on? Around us, across the world, we can see that this disease or this sickness is killing people. This virus is killing people. You can't tell the American that this thing it has almost killed 100,000 people now. They are approaching the 100,000 mark in the US now. And you sit here in Nigeria and tell us that, oh, it's a scam. It does not exist. It has killed people in Kano. We know prominent people that it has killed. I lost a professor that we graduated the same year from the University of Ilorin.
About our former chief of staff.
Our former chief of general staff lost his wife. We see big examples of people that were killed by this, and we still continue the lying propaganda that, oh, it does not exist.
Our government wants to use it
to siphon money.
But when religious leaders, when they descend solo, when they are speaking like that, it will kind of have influence.
They are not just religious leaders. When somebody who is a scientist, who trained as a scientist, begins to compare malaria, a parasite, to COVID-19, a virus. Malaria is not contagious now. At least a person to person is not. Malaria is not a person to person contagion. But that's what this virus is, and that's why it's dangerous. I mean, if you can imagine, if in my house I get infected by the malaria parasite, it does not follow that everyone in my house is at risk of that infection. But with COVID-19, that's exactly what happens.
Not just the people in your house.
Everyone that you have had
share the same amenity with them, the gates and everything, touch it, whatever they touch. Yes.
You commuted with them, to a particular destination. They must look for those people. You traveled in an aircraft, they must look for the people that traveled with you. So this is the thing. But our people, there is increasing cynicism. I'm alarmed at the rate at which more and more Nigerians are believing that this thing does not exist, including those who are supposed to be educated. Because education is now clear to us that it is now clear to us that it's not everyone who passed through a university campus that is actually educated. Because you see the quality of argument of people that you expect should know better, and you ask yourself, what's going on? So the president is justifiably disturbed that this thing is climbing. And if our political leaders continue to treat this with levity, well, one can say that, look, it will continue to get worse. A lot of them are treating it with levity. They want things to return to normal. But it's clear that things cannot just return to normal.
This is the kind of situation where we had in Brazil.
Okay, I wanted us to talk about our children, because when you're looking at the timeline to free the economy, this will fall into down the ladder because of the prospect of our children, not coming together again. But some schools, they've introduced online school, Google classes, but some other schools cannot afford. Some other parents cannot afford this luxury via tablet, data, and everything. So inevitably, they've lost a term.
Well, I mean, that's what it's looking like. It's becoming a bit tough for parents to try and manage. Even the parents that are able to afford to buy data for their devices and also have their children use devices and tablets and things like that, you discover that they are not able
to continue this long process of sitting with your child for 6 or 7 hours and taking them through one class after the other. And that's for the middle class, those that can afford it. Now, for the larger population, probably 90% of children in the country, they don't have access to data, they don't have access to such luxuries or Android phones that they can use while they're at home.
And schools in the rural areas,
so
they don't even have network.
Indeed, it has affected the education system. So hopefully, I mean, this is the time where I think that they need to sit down and plan for probably the summer period when things begin to get back into normal, so that between June, July, and September, you can walk a way around building, helping the children to catch up. Because even those children in Nigeria that right now are attending online schools, it doesn't count at the level of the Ministry of Education and writing your exam, whether it's WAHEED, you're writing, or JAM or anything, it doesn't count because you still have to go back to the four walls of the classroom. Because right now, attending a virtual classroom does not really count for your child, except that it just helps him to learn a bit more and refresh his memory. But
It's a multi-award winning program, Journalists Hangout. We're reaching you live from our headquarters here in Lagos, Nigeria, and we are still looking at issues surrounding COVID-19 and the alarming rate at which we're spreading this. We have our correspondent from Kaduna State, that's Tesem Akonde on the line. Tesem. Hello, Tesem.
Yeah, hi, good evening.
Just tell us what happened yesterday in Kaduna State.
Yes, it was an Eid without Muslim faithful coming out at the prayer grounds to pray. They basically prayed from their houses, and of course I went around to talk to them, interact with them how it was or how it felt, you know, having the fathers most of the time basically leading their children and wives and family generally to Eid. For those who really said they have the understanding, it really did not mean much, especially with the situation, the coronavirus that the whole world is trying to tackle at the moment. On the government side, the governor left the state capital to go to the Kano border, the border between the state and Kano, to ensure that interstate movement was not, was strictly monitored. Kaduna is surrounded by high-risk areas, the FCT, Katsina State, Kano, and of course other states. So the government, as far as it was concerned, was not ready to allow or take chances at all. So this was how it went here in Kaduna.
Thank you, Tesem Akonde, for that short one. Babajide, we're still talking about this COVID-19, the economic impact that it has had on our economy and personal individuals across the country. We have more people that are falling under the poverty line, and we've been calling on Nigerians that please, a lot of people need help at this time around. And so do you have any progress reports, as we've been calling on Nigeria, and we've told Nigerians, we promised them that it's our responsibility to be giving this report on the show as more Nigerians come out to help and impact lives.
Yes, we actually challenge our people, and it's a good thing that a lot of them are actually distributing food items to our people, food packs to our people. Honorable Abdul Salam, the chairman of Shomolu local government, who is popularly known as Dula, has continued for months now to distribute food packs to our people, gari, beans, rice. He must have distributed up to 40,000 food packs as we speak. this is not something that he started to this, doing it since 2017. You know, so he's already used to doing it. He's happy to do it, and we want to commend Honorable Abdul Salah Abdullah for remembering our people and putting smiles on their faces. Of course, Honorable Rotimi Agunsoye, the House of Reps member representing Kosofe Federal constituency, ROT, chairman of House Committee on SDG, and a former commissioner in Lagos. He is also alive to his responsibility. He's on the 4th phase of the distribution of palliatives. Yes, and from each pack, as you can see on the screen, has 5 kg bags of rice, 5 kg bags of beans, 5 kg bags of gari for 2,500 indigent citizens.
That's massive.
More than 10,000 of our people have already benefited
from it
so far. And the good thing is that it's continuing. Even our friend, the son of the former IG, Jamil, has also continued. He went to his father-in-law's factory, got
Jamil MD Abubakar's
son. You know, he's married to Dangote's daughter.
Okay.
Went to his father-in-law's company, brought back bags of rice that he distributed to people, knowing that Salah was approaching and the people need succor at this time. So it's a good thing. We'll continue to encourage our people.
Yomi, this should not be restricted to politicians alone. I know of Bolaji Shone in Akiode. He's not a politician, he's not holding any political office, but he has been feeding people in thousands in Akiode here in Ojuju. So that's some people that he's happy to do it. You don't have to be a politician alone.
There are people, I mean, the landlord association in the estate where I live, you know, we also came together, and sometimes as simple as just donating maybe 2,000 naira per person or per house, and then you discover that before you know it, by the time 20 or 100 houses have donated 2,000, you will discover that you have a lot of money to be able to help the people in your area. So usually it's if each one person reaches the next person, or you reach the next home, you will discover it will just trickle down and it will go around. That's exactly.
We'll leave the era and abolish the thought of, government can reach everybody at the same time.
The government cannot reach everybody at the same time.
The federal government of Nigeria cannot reach everybody at the same time.
You can't. I'm not sure
Lagos State don't even have the capacity to reach 20 million Lagosians. So a lot of people will be telling me, Ayo, we've not gotten palliatives, They know how they can reach everybody. But it is when we help government like this.
Every individual can do something.
Our Minister of Interior also did something.
Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola. Today is his birthday. Today is his 62nd birthday.
It's his 63rd birthday. Happy birthday to the apostle of Marxism-Leninism.
I'm telling you, they used to call him Baba. Symbol, Ogbeni Babakabiru. That's the Minister of Interior. And
of course,
the former governor of Osun State.
The Marxism, of course, you're focusing a lot on the people.
Yes,
on the
it's about the people. Yes,
it's really about the people.
Yes,
and if the people are happy, then of course you have a functional democracy.
So yes, the Minister of Interior. That the former governor of Osun State,
former works commissioner,
in Lagos State, the leader of the mandates group at the point in time, Batco in mandates, grassroots politician, generalism of Alimosho politics, the symbol himself, Rauf Aregbesola. Congratulations, sir. Now, for good or bad reasons, we are hardly united on critical issues as a country. The lack of sense of common purpose is playing out again following the signing of an executive order by President Muhammadu Buhari granting financial autonomy to the legislature and the judiciary at the state level. Hardly had any president sign the order than lawyers and politicians and civil society organizations, CSOs, become divided. While some commended the move, others said it is incapable of solving challenges facing the country. Now, the legal battle on the matter is also looming as the Nigerian Governor Forum is not happy. The days ahead are pregnant with interesting development. Jide, autonomy for the legislature, autonomy for local governments seem to be a mirage in this kind of setting. Yes. Now, what am I talking about? a governor decides in some party or in most of the party decide who, except some states, who are going to, the members of the State House of Assembly that's going to occupy it. You have to safeguard that place to ensure that you have a smooth one. And number two, when you look at the local governments, most of them, they don't get to run their election as specified by the Constitution. So what do? You compensate your cronies that have actually helped you in becoming the governor. You just put them on a interim basis. Some run as much as 5, 6, 7 years, no local government election. Some, when they're taking their leave after 8 years, they'll now conduct local government election. We've had cases that the governor did not conduct local government election in 8 years. All this we have in Nigeria. Babajide.
But basically, this is just about the state legislature and the judiciary in the state. The executive order talks about the state legislature and the state judiciary, not really about the
local government.
Sorry
about that.
So the truth is, Section 121, subsection 3 of the Constitution effectively affirms that the judiciary and the legislature shall have financial autonomy.
First line charge.
Yes. So that's why some people are saying, oh, the action that the president took is unnecessary. I disagree. Because if our society were to be like other societies, where the laws are obeyed, there will have been no need for this executive order. But we are in a country where people enjoy impunity, where governors, who are supposed to be chief implementers of laws in their states, are actually the lawless people who choose to disobey the law. So what the president has done is simply to amplify what the Constitution says and then prescribe sanctions. If the governors were not turning the judiciary in their state or the executive or the legislature to errand boys or to beggars, there will have been no need for this. But what do we have? Governors enjoy a situation in which the CJ in the state, he wants money released for training of his staff. He wants money released for seminars. You then go before the governor, you say, please, we need money to do some of this.
That is messy.
If the governor woke up on the wrong side of the bed on that day, you can say, no, why is that training necessary? Why is that seminar?
You have a pending case.
Or you have, what is it called with him? You have a case for which both of you are not happy. You know, like it happened in Kogi. You know, the governor was not happy with the CJ in the state. He then went ahead to seize the funds of the judiciary. And the judiciary, for about a year, you held on to their funds. You made staff to suffer, staff in the judiciary to suffer. You didn't release their funds. So this is the sort of thing that pushed the president, all those criticizing the president, including some of them who are not even lawyers, who like to dabble into matters like this. They are not looking at what prompted the president to take this action. Because now, if you, based on the executive order, if you fail to release funds due to the judiciary from the consolidated fund of your state, the CJ in that state can write to the Attorney General of the Federation, who will then mandate the Accountant General to deduct that money from source and then pay to the judiciary in the state. And of course, you and I can bet that that will be enforced, because the president who issued this executive order will make sure. Of course, the Attorney General works directly with the president. The Accountant General is also on work with him. So he will ensure, because the president is just trying to do his best to ensure that what is in the Constitution is adhered to. It's the indiscipline of our people that is causing all this. Otherwise, it is not. You will say that it is not necessary because it's there in black and white.
Most state House of Assembly, you are meant to serve as check and balances to the executive, but it's just like an extension. In most of our states,
usually always an extension.
Always an extension. I can't remember the last time attempt was made to impeach a governor for his anti-people policy and everything.
It's always quite tough. Because again, the legislature is usually in the pocket of the governor because the governor controls everything. A lot of power is invested in the governor, and he also has financial power.
We even buy them vehicles before they leave.
Of course. So they come,
official cars.
They come always cap in hand, begging for funds to run the legislature, even the judiciary as well. So that's where the problem has been all this time. But with this executive order, it changes things. Now, the governors, of course, they are afraid that the legislature is now going to become a bit too powerful now that they have financial autonomy, and they will now maybe act as maybe a bigger check on executive recklessness and a few other things like that. But that is how democracy works. When there's a system of proper checks and balances, then everybody can then focus on their work and do their work effectively. Now, one or two people have said that, you know, while this gives the judiciary, all the other arms of government a huge responsibility, it also comes for accountability on their own side as well. So they will have to be accountable to the people at the end of every year by showing their own accounts that they have used the funds allocated directly to them properly, because I think that is also a key thing for
Babajide, don't you think this executive order is being by the president, signing of the executive order is kind of hypocritical on part of the federal government of Nigeria? Have listened to the CJN several times that if I have to go to the executive cap in hand begging that we are not well funded, that the judiciary in Nigeria is underfunded, that if you have to go cap in hand several times to go and beg money, that the rule of law, the principle of separation of powers would have been rubbished. So if you are doing this for states, what is happening at the federal level?
Oh, he was talking in general terms. I read that story.
I was at the last NBA forum. He was saying that he has to go cap in hand. He was saying they are not well funded.
See, he was talking in general terms. I will give you an example of a state where the judgment went against the governor. He was the one who gave the appeal court judges the quarters where they were staying. And the next thing he did was to evict them. So he was talking in general terms that, look, the money that we need, we don't get the money that we need. He was talking about true autonomy. True autonomy. So,
can be separation of
yes,
powers.
that true autonomy, that is the only way by which they can be, the actions can be transparent and they can be truly independent. That's what the man was talking about. And the president is trying to ensure that, look, these people get the funding that they need. Apart from Lagos State, go to the states, look at courtrooms. Just go see how old the courtrooms
since
are.
The administration of
undeveloped.
They've signed the Lagos House of Assembly autonomy bill since that time. I think it was the first in the country.
Go to the states and see the quality of buildings, housing, high courts. It is because it's the governors who decide when to release money for rehabilitation. Because this executive order means that money for capital projects will also be released to them. Yes. So they don't need, if they have dilapidated courtrooms, they don't need to go to the governor to say, please help us fix.
They will award contracts and they will implement it.
They can award contracts from the funds coming directly to them.
From them.
They can use those capital funds for their projects, and they can also pay salaries and other things.
Just like our National Assembly is asking for 50 billion naira to renovate the National Assembly.
And I've heard that, look, that these governors, they will go to court. If they go to court, they are wasting their time. As far back as 2014, Justice Ademola ruled in favor of JUSUN, which is the umbrella body for judicial workers.
Yes, Association of Nigeria
Staff Union.
Affirming the primacy of that portion of the law that says the judiciary shall have fiscal independence. Federal High Court. if they go to court over this matter, what are they going to be saying? It will amount to abuse of court process. In any case, who are you going before? You are going before judges. You don't want to give judges autonomy, but you file an action and go before the judges. Of course, the outcome is predictable. Well, what we want is let the judiciary have greater independence, and the judicial officers too, whether they are Supreme Court judges or state high court or federal high court judges, they should never see themselves as errand boys or caddies, as in golfer now, or caddies of the executive. Because if they continue to willingly surrender their autonomy, then they will not be respected. To be respected, you must be above board. If they bring money, reject their blood money and concentrate on your job. Give the judgment that shows that you truly fear God. When judges begin to do that, the judgment is approaching, switch off your phone. Don't let them be able to have access to you, because politicians are usually the first to bribe judges. Yet at the end of the day, they will say judges are corrupt. It is because those judges allow politicians to use them. So along with the autonomy or independence that you truly want, your actions have to show that you truly deserve that independence. Because if you continue to behave like appendages of the executive, some actions that they ought not to take against you, they will take. Look at what happened with Justice Abib Elelu in Kwara. Because Lasaraki did not have the power to remove a CJ. And he removed the woman. But unfortunately, the case dragged on and on. Invariably, Justice Elelu got justice that the governor had no power to remove a CJ in the state. That is it. Our governors know what the law says, but they will still deliberately go against the provisions of the law. You remember what happened in Ekiti when the assembly suspended the CJ, and they did not have the power.
The House of Assembly coming together to suspend and
they suspended
another arm of government.
Yes, but that was how Fayose was able to escape
the impeachment. The
so-called impeachment is not known to our laws. And even when that case got to Supreme Court, the Supreme Court ruled that there was no impeachment because it was illegally impeached. So this is the thing. Let's do what is right.
I have Jerry calling us from Kaduna State. Thank you for joining us. Dari.
Yeah, good evening, the Ayodele, Babajide, and the other man there. Please, I want to express my condolences to Journalists Hangout on the demise of a friend of the house.
Thank you.
I pray that the Lord will grant, JH and the family the fortitude to bear the irreparable loss.
Thank you.
Let me just take you back a bit, please. Concerning the not following the rules set by the government, by even government. I think it's a very wrong doubt that leaders will not even obey themselves, not obey the president, not even obey the laid down rules for this pandemic, and it's killing people all over the world. I mean, I'm ashamed. It's when we have life we can think about religion. If there is no life, there is nothing like religion. So please, let's hold on. This thing will soon pass. It's a passing phase. This thing will go, and we'll still have our life to live. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your contribution, Dari. Back to the autonomy on the part of the legislature and the judiciary. As signed by President Buhari.
I think it's a good thing. It's a good move by the president, because now, yes, it was in the constitution before, but now that the president has made this move, this is like a guarantee, like a stamp on it, that the governors now have to ensure that the funds are paid. Our government is a tripartite arrangement, and it's based on the doctrine of separation of powers. And until everybody adheres to their own parts, it will never work. So I think at the end of the day, what we eventually need to do is to ensure that everybody focuses on their own parts, what they are supposed to do, and transparency, especially on the part of the newly empowered legislator and also the judiciary in the states as well. Transparency is also very key. Before now, it was what you might call palliatives that the governors had been given to these arms of government. But now that things are about to change for them.
What's first line charge? What's they're entitled to?
Yes.
Now that they're about to receive their own entitlement is a big responsibility.
They don't need to go.
Big brother, and
you can imagine an assembly speaker of an assembly or the CJ in the state filling a form and made to wait and wait and wait to see the governor because he wants to ask for funds
to run
his
own arm of government.
Yes, that's what is happening. If a governor can unilaterally seize funds meant for the judiciary, and he so wickedly did it for about a year, plunging the staff into hunger, just because you had a disagreement with the CJ in the state. He didn't do what you wanted him to do. So this effectively takes the power.
I want to ask you finally, why do you think the governors will want to hold on to the legislature at the same time judiciary, and they know this is a democracy, as in to hold on to their independence in terms of finance?
They use some of the funds meant for these people. They use just even some of them use local government funds. It's the same thing. Or are you not aware that they use local government funds?
No, that's the thing.
Yes, now. There was a local government chairman. There was a local government chairman that they gave him his money for the month, and he burst into tears. He burst into tears. What are we going to do with this?
There used to be one at Ijebu. What's his name? He actually reported to EFCC that look at what I got for this.
What they are giving me.
So this is
those governors. Yes, now those governors are not Democrats in the real sense. It's not everybody who parades themselves like a Democrat that is a Democrat. Yes, they are products of democracy, but they are not true Democrats. They are dictators. They want to determine what happens in other arms of government. They want to install speakers. They want to install CJ in their states. They shouldn't be doing that. It's because they feel threatened. They feel threatened. If you feel that your position is secure, why would you want to be the one to install CJ?
Okay. I want to thank you, Yomi Owope. Thank you so much. Today is a very trying time for the JH crew. I pray that the Almighty God will grant everybody to fortitude to bear the loss, and some of our other analysts that because of COVID-19 has kept them away from the studio, and they've reached out to me today on behalf of the entire JH crew. I say God will just console the family of Mr. WAHEED BAKARE.
May God grant him Al-Jannah Firdaus.
Yeah, Mr. WAHEED BAKARE, one of our own here.
We will never forget you.
We'll never forget you.
We'll never forget you.
The president issued a statement not too long ago about this, and also condoling the family as well.
Oh, really?
Just about an hour ago.
Oh, that's nice.
A statement from the president.
Yes.
Oh, from the president. Oh, that's nice.
Made his mark from his days at Punch newspaper.
From Punch newspaper, Saturday editor of the Daily Telegraph.
Yes.
Good life. And that's our offering today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. You can watch Journalists Hangout on our platform showing on the screen. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News 9.